Welcome, everyone. I'm Paul Herman with CCLI, here today with David Crowder. David, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Absolutely, Paul. Good to be with you.
First of all, I want to just tell you how much I love your social media posts.
They're exactly what social media is for. That's what it is.
Right. You know,
just sheer entertainment.
The my church, hashtag my church and hashtag my people.
My people is good folks that are running around. The funny thing is, my mom is not a fan of these.
Oh.
She doesn't like the my people thing because it's hitting a little too close to home. She's like, "Are you making fun of us?" I'm like, "No, I'm identifying. I'm just saying this is kind of as I grew up. I'm just pointing out there's some ingenuity here that we should respect, and celebrate."
Well, you must see a whole lot of unusual stuff.
Oh, getting to travel is pretty fantastic, and it is. I'm serious. We didn't grow up with a lot, and so most of the things you're seeing is they're not too far from my East Texas background.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I'll tell you what. We were just part of the Lift conference. It was in Atlanta this past. It's with our church, affiliated with our church, Passion City Church, that I'm a part of there in Atlanta, and it's a bunch of works leaders there, and they had this Jeopardy. It was like a skit, I guess you'd call it. I was not aware the skit was going to go down.
Yeah.
It was like a fake Jeopardy show. They had people impersonating like some of the worship leaders that are there. Louis Giglio is our pastor.
Yeah.
He had an impersonator. Well, I'm not too hard to impersonate, it turns out. All you had to do was get like a big beard and some gross hair. You just basically try to look homeless, and then you got me nailed. And then, but like one of my answers, it was like the final Jeopardy question, and my answer, you're supposed to write it out.
Yeah.
And then they like, "Okay, Crowder, can we see your answer?" I don't remember what the question was. I think it was please write a number, any number. That was the final Jeopardy question. So they were hoping that someone would get that right.
Yeah.
And so when it shows my number that I had written, instead it was one of my people Instagram posts, which was the bread mittens.
Oh, yes.
It was like bread that goes on your hands. I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. I would totally use those. That seems handy, You got mittens, but you can eat them if you're hungry. Get your, carbs in.
Yeah, indeed.
So, I don't know, the bread gloves are kind of in my head right now. I'm a fan of the bread gloves.
Oh, that's great. Your top song select song right now is All My Hope. Tell us the story about that one.
I'd love to. I love that I'm getting to carry this. I love getting to do what I'm doing, and each song has like a different. They all have stories, and this one, what I was trying to do was write something that sounded old, and old in a sense that was connecting us to the history of the Black church. That the first record I did on this solo journey, I was really trying to get my head around Southern gospel songs, like the language of Southern gospel music, how it's become colloquial, like you can sing most of Southern gospel songs and it just sounds like good old Americana. Nobody can really argue it.
Right.
It's like it's just part of our lexicon as Americans. And same with the Black church.
Right.
And the roots and the tributary. I mean, they're all so closely tied together. And what I so love about really following the trail that leads to is where you get to the slave spirituals. There's this literal. You are in circumstances that are dire. Your physical freedom is not available, and you can't imagine life becoming something that's enjoyable.
Right.
It's just hard to be alive.
Yeah.
And on this side of the dirt, and so when they're singing these songs about future hope, it's like that's where we have to place our hope, because we can't even fathom it here and now.
Right.
And to see where that has come and how that has affected not just music within the church, but popular music, and where. So I wanted to connect to story in the sense of our history, to have chord structures and a melody that when I'm singing about I'm no stranger to the prison, I wanted it to have a DNA structure that was, on purposefully co-opting where our past is, and being able to then voice aloud that our only hope's Jesus, and hopefully we're singing that from a place that we're believing the kingdom of heaven can be on earth as well, and that we will we can cause a lot of things to change here and now, and we're a part of we're a part of what that change has been. And so I love that the church gets to sing because of people who have experiential faith that they've experienced.
Yeah.
Paul in prison, being able to sing, and then the gates get flung open. That's what I love about church music. And so that's really the DNA of that song.
Yeah. And seeing you do it live and seeing the people respond, I mean, clearly they're resonating with it.
Oh, I love it. Well, just because it sounds like it sounds like a church song, man. You don't know if it was written yesterday or a good ways back, and it sounds old, and it feels like the way people are attaching to it. It's a part of how we've been formed musically, and the melody's familiar, and it just gives us handles to hold on to, and it's got foundational truth in a lot of different ways. Yeah.
I had talked to Darren Mulligan previously about the song "My
What
Victory."
A beautiful man, right? I love that guy.
I love my time
He's
with him.
a trip.
And but I'd love to get your take on that song too.
Oh, dude, if anybody's familiar with My Victory, I probably have a similar experience. I was in Chicago at a church up in Chicago, and Hank, my guitar player, had just written with Darren, and they had pretty much the good parts of the song were already done. He got to that chorus, and I just heard the line, a cross meant to kill is my victory, and I went, oh my goodness, like what a thought, and what a thing. It sounded like an Easter song immediately to me. I was like, that's Easter right there. That's coming up. That's Good Friday coming into Easter weekend. It just sounded like holiday music to me, and so I was just a champion of the song. I thought this is an incredible song, and then when it didn't make Darren's record for whatever reason, I was like, hey, so that thing's sitting around, right? And so I went to messing with it a little bit, and just so privileged to get to carry it and I'm so glad that hearing Darren do it. We've got to do it in the same place at the same time. There's been a couple occasions where that's happened, and I love it. I'm so grateful that, like I said, I got to. It sure has meant a lot for our church community in Atlanta, and I guess we launched it first at the Passion Conference, a bunch of college kids, and so yeah, it's been. Speaking of songs and getting to watch people attached to them, that was a fist to the air defiance little number.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, Darren had told me that you wrote the good line. He loved your bridge. So.
Well, he's very kind.
With all these songs, you must hear the responses from people, and that's as a songwriter and just as a worship leader. That's got to be amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Just what you hear from people. How that
yes,
affects you.
I mean, as a lover of music myself, I know how I've been affected by people's announcements, and you'll hear a song and it'll pull you to the side of the road, you're stuck in a parking lot way too long because it's just floored you. But I think probably my favorite moment, because it was such a vulnerable thing that was told to me, was about the song "Come As You Are," and it's really an invitation. It's kind of like a "Just As I Am," that hymn. I remember the first time I heard it as a little kid in First Baptist Church, Texarkana, and I just like, man, I don't have like a invitational hymn type song, and that was an effort to get to something near that. And this lady told me she was having an affair, and it had been going on a long time. And she was on a lunch break, and she was going to meet the guy that she was having an affair with, and this song came on the radio, and she wound up on the side of the road. She's like, I've had to pull the side of the road, and she was weeping and begged God to forgive her. Called her husband, and said, "Can you meet me?" And literally turned around and went the other way, and met her husband. Told him everything that was going on, and that was been a few years ago, and now they're in a wonderful place. And that a song could take you to the side of the road and turn you around, and it's a song of repentance, and a song that says it doesn't matter where you are and what you've done, God's grace and God's love extends that far, and he loves you in your present tense as much as he'll ever love you. He doesn't love your future self more than he loves you right now in this second, and that would be effective in the way that you would hope a song would be effective and cause such a life change that is just that is probably one of the better stories I've hurt because that's what you hope, you know.
And songs can be that powerful, and the Holy Spirit can use
I was
it.
going to say, that's what it is, you know. It's the breath of God somehow in the right moment, right time, right space, because it's just a bit of melody and a few words,
Right.
and singing about the same story that we've been talking about and singing about for a long time, and it's just all of a sudden God can use a thing to drastically change your life, and that part's just brilliant to be a part of.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts for our worship leaders or worship teams
Right.
or songwriters
Just
out there?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we need more. You know, that's I say this all the time. And if you are writing music, then you totally understand. If you're writing church music, you totally understand what I'm saying. But we got a tough job. I mean, I'm kind of downplaying it. You know, bit of melody and some words thrown together. But it's more difficult than it. I think it's kind of. You're Jimmy Buffett is what I was going to say. You're Jimmy Buffett. You got to take people to the ocean over and over and over, and it's got to feel like the first time.
Yeah.
So you've got a lexicon that's very limited. You got to say something about, you know, sand, you know, sunshine, flip flops. I mean, you know, you've got a limited number of words that are going to be that trigger that tells the story of God in a way that, you know, bursts the heart open again. And that's why right, because at some point you might stumble onto something that the church needs and didn't know it did, you know, that part. So write and tune your guitar.
Nice.
Now take care of the stuff that you can take care of,
Yeah.
and the rest is like, who knows, you know? As long as you're taking care of what God's put in your hands and you keep your hands open, He'll put stuff in it, take stuff out, and as long as your hands just stay open and you take care of what He's given you, that's about it. Yeah.
David, thanks so much. This
Absolutely.
is
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Take care.